Hello, everybody. Welcome to a It's Just Me Ooh solo edition of the Missing Wolves postgame podcast live stream thing. I'm Andrew Dukowitz from Zone Coverage, and what in the world is going on with the Minnesota Timberwolves? They are fresh off of a Game 1 victory, 104-102 against the San Antonio Spurs in San Antonio. And I'll just be honest, as a guy who was on a couple different San Antonio podcast radio shows, whatever they were today, this one's going to be shocking for people in San Antonio. That's kind of the main takeaway I have is I think the confidence level of Spurs fans and even the Spurs is going to be rocked a little bit after this one. I do want to first off say, anyone that is joining into this post-game live stream podcast thing, thank you for joining into this post-game live stream podcast thing. There are about 95 of them going on right now. Since I am running solo tonight, chat, you guys are going to be in charge here. So whenever you get bored of me rambling about something, pick a topic. We'll go from there. But first off, just to break down the game, I mean, just a close game all the way through. This is, I mentioned it on Twitter, like this is the championship of like ethical hoops. Neither team belly aches for calls. Well, Ant can get a little hey and clap happy sometimes, but like he doesn't seek out fouls. He doesn't try to get to the free throw line. You know, Wemby, I think for people who haven't been watching a lot of Spurs, never complains. I mean, even on things that look questionable, he is running back on defense. And this is just pure basketball. It's ball movement, it's defense, it's physicality, it's like running cuts and plays. And just from like a pure product, like as a basketball fan who gets to cover basketball for a part-time job, like this is awesome. Like this needs to go seven games just for the sheer fact that it's so fun to watch. And it also felt like it wasn't officiated terribly. It felt like it was pretty fair. I know, you know, if we're going to nitpick on things, there was a blown travel in the last few minutes on Ant, but that ended up just turning into a brick, I think it was a Julius 3. Like it is what it is. There's probably some questionable fouls in and throughout the game, but same thing, like in this type of atmosphere, I felt like it evened out pretty well, which then you're just left with the Wolves and the Spurs, two teams that are just heavyweight fighters. Again, I'm kind of speechless because I didn't expect them to come out and win game 1. As Farah says, they beat the Spurs shooting 12 of 21 from the free throw line, 3 players with 5 fouls, 60% Ant, no Io, no Dante. I would also like to say they had 10 minutes of Jaden in the first half because Jaden got 3 fouls early. I mean, I think if you're looking at, again, I think if you're the Wolves, like tomorrow when they're going through their film review and Wednesday when they're going through their shoot around, like it really felt like they were in control of this game. I mean, there was a lot of open shots that were missed. There was as you mentioned, Farah, 9 missed free throws. Don't win too many games shooting, what is that, 65% from the free throw line? That's abhorrent, even for the Wolves, who are not a very good free throw shooting team. Like, I think you're feeling really good about this game plan. And also, like, maybe for the first time this playoffs, Julius Randle was, I would argue, the best player in this game. Down the stretch, hit that really good kind of spinning hook. Also drew a foul on Vassell with not too much time left. Just kind of one of those weird spinning swipe up shots. Got himself to the free throw line, hit them both at that time. I think always with Julius, there's going to be some tough moments. I mean, he did shoot 20 times and did have 5 turnovers and 5 fouls. But what was really impressive to me was just the defense. I mean, there are not very many players that can just move Wembanyama like Randle can, and consistently throughout this game, Randle was just able to move Wemby off of his spots. If Wemby wanted to get it on the block, he was getting it in the mid-range. If Wemby wanted to get it at the nail, he was getting it at the top of the 3-point line. And again, Wemby's such a special kind of like human that he doesn't really show the frustration as much, but like you could tell his wheels were turning like throughout the entire game of just what the heck is going on here. I am being pushed out of my spots at all times. Pack mentality mentions back on the officiating side, there was a lot of goaltending. I'll have to watch some of that back tomorrow because it's so hard with Wemby because he's 37 feet tall that like I don't know if it's goaltending and he's getting it while it's on its way up still, and he's just the only human on the planet that can reach that apex, or if the officials are just like that guy got 11 feet in the air, like it is what it is. Farah mentions Mike Conley had important minutes. That's what my story will be on tomorrow, is just Mike Conley, the last true point guard, going plus 13 in a ridiculously important game, including kind of hitting that 3-pointer that put it off, kind of put it out of reach, I guess. Pack mentality. I'm going to have to relook some of the goaltending stuff. There was one, I think it was a Nas shot that it did look like it hit backboard a little bit. But I'll be rewatching them. Back to Pack mentality and Farah. They're fighting for their lives out there without Dante. TJ, both of you guys mentioned TJ as well. Like, again, you look at TJ before the end of the regular season, before he started getting some of that run. And, you know, I had probably half a dozen people on this live stream that all kind of agreed that like maybe it's just best to shelve TJ, say, hey, have a good summer, work on your right hand, work on getting to your spots better on defense so that you can contest a little better, and we'll see how it goes next year. He kind of goes on that tear at the end of the season, and now just out of pure necessity, I mean, they don't have IO Bones, despite what Jamal Crawford was saying. This was I thought a pretty tough Bones Highland game, 0 for 6 scoreless. And they needed TJ, just like game 6, they needed TJ, and TJ showed up in a really big way. I mean, he's a case of like why plus minus doesn't tell the whole story. He finishes with a -10, team worst, 16 points on 13 shots, no turnovers though. And I think with TJ, it's just, can he give you enough on offense to where the defense is manageable? Because there was still a couple times this game where TJ's kind of showing in to help on Wemby, but doesn't quite commit fully to the double team. And then Fox runs around an off ball screen and TJ's like flying to the corner to try and get back to his guy. And I think the one I'm thinking of, Fox ended up missing it. There's another one where TJ again on Wemby just kind of like gets a little too into like, let's get a little too into like getting into whoever he thinks he should double team to, but he doesn't fully commit to it. So then he's just in this no man's land, which is like the worst place to be, which unfortunately, like, again, if he's giving you enough on offense, like if he's giving you enough on offense, it's hard to argue with him getting big minutes. And I think it's a testament to like how hard he is working right now to just be effective, that Finch has given him 35 minutes in game 1 of a playoff series. Again, I wouldn't have believed that 3.5 weeks ago. I also think, you know, if you would have asked me even before game 6, I would have said Jalen Clark might be getting more minutes, but TJ's been awesome. Steve mentions TJ getting downhill, better defenders surprised him, more athletic, so explosive. I mean, let's be honest. TJ is just, I'm trying to remember what Finch said last year. I asked him about just like what he likes about TJ. And he said he plays with like a reckless ferocity, I think, or something along those lines of just like, basically like he just plays offense with no, like with no regard to his for his body. He just, I mean, you can see it on the drives. Like if he's not getting to the rim, he's going to blow someone over. And he's so fast that it's so hard for teams to get in front of him, like defensively, to draw that charge. And credit to TJ too. Like he's gotten better with his right hand. I don't know if that was just something he put a lot of time into, during the times he was injured, if that's something that he's been saving for the playoffs. You never know with these guys, but like he's been really good, especially a couple of those drives in the third and fourth quarter where he's attacking the basket from the right side and just kind of going right at it, and then either shooting it with his right hand or sneaking it up with that left hand. He's just been awesome, which, I think there is a little bit of why wasn't this happening throughout the season or when they really needed him. But hey, happy it's happening now in the playoffs. It kind of seems like, just like everyone else on this team, he just has another gear to go up to. Steve, yes, it is I'm very happy to have a pre-midnight live stream tonight. I'm not going to be in San Antonio for any of the games, so the road games I'll at least be on before midnight. Home games, I'm sorry everybody, it'll still be the normal thing where I'm doing Finch interview, cutting up some clips from the locker room, and then going on. But yeah, it's very nice to be on. Grinch is in here as well. All respect to Rudy. Wemby alters shots in a way I've never seen before. Yeah, I mean, when you're seeing Jaden, who is pretty fearless I mean, again, think of Jaden's like body of work of like a 6'10" mid-range post shooter. Like he never turns those downs, but there was a couple times today where he just threw up a floater. Didn't go well. There's another couple times where he got to his spot and kind of pumped and then saw Wemby lurking there and crashing in and then just decided to get off the ball. There's also a couple, like one time where Jaden had the ball and just had Wemby in an ISO and just got off of it. Like, I don't want any part of this, which I think that's the crazy thing with Wemby is just like, what do you do? Like, I think barring injury, this is probably going to be the last playoff series or the last time in the playoffs where he hasn't fully figured it out yet, which that's the Wolves' advantage in this one, right? Again, I was on a San Antonio show earlier today and was kind of saying to them, like, it is a kind of a boring excuse or a boring reason to have faith in the Wolves, but like the Wolves have been to 2 Western Conference finals. They've been in the playoffs 4 years in a row. They have put a lot of miles on their body and they just know what it takes. Like they know physically and mentally what this battle is going to be like. And for the Spurs, they haven't been there in a while. And Wemby has never had to do this. Like Wemby is, again, now that we're in this time of the season, it's going to be every other night games for 2 weeks. If this series goes 7 games, Wemby's never had to do that. And especially with playing big minutes, Fox has never had to do that. Castle hasn't, Harper hasn't. Like that's tough. And that is something that the Wolves actually have, is just that experience of like what it is physically going to take. And I do think that's something that I don't know if it surprised the Spurs tonight, but like you could tell that it was kind of reality for them in this series. Like the Blazers just did not have this type of physicality with them. And you saw guys, whether it was like Keldon Johnson, who a couple times was barking back at officials or at Ant, which is really kind of uncharacteristic for him. Fox, I think, had a ton of issues in this game, whether it was Jaden on him, even TJ did a pretty good job on him. Like this is going to be a fun series. That's what I'm going to keep going back to. And I think if you're keeping faith in the Wolves, it's that this team just gets it at this point, which feels really weird to say that after the regular season we had, where it was constantly frustrating. But now that the playoffs here, it just really does look like this team understands how to win playoff games. They know when to grind the ball down. They know when to protect it. They know when to push pace. Even like TJ kind of understands like the pacing of playoff games. It's really impressive. Chatty. I'm going to go with Chatty. That sounds fancier. 6:30 in the morning over there. Shout out to you. I hope you woke up for work or we're watching the game and now you can't sleep. But Mike Conley, vintage game indeed. I mean, that corner three he hit was I don't know if they're in the stream here, but someone has been sending me messages on Twitter for like the last couple months of like, there will be a Mike Conley game. And I don't know if this is the Mike Conley game that everyone's going to remember, if this is a championship run, but like they don't win this without Mike just genuinely being awesome for 24 minutes. Farah adds, if you want to beat the Spurs, you can't be scared to go to the basket. Don't care if Wemby got 10 plus blocks, attack the rim, put pressure on him. Credit to the Wolves. They honestly did do that though. Like TJ kept going at the rim pretty fearless. Ant settled a couple times, but he was also kind of probing and getting to that mid range to put Wemby in weird spots. And then Julius was just, again, 20 shots is a little excessive. The 5 turnovers. There's a time and place for, critiquing Julius. And I do think he deserves a little bit of criticism, but also they don't win this game without Julius just being able to outpower and outmuscle everybody. Pack mentality says be physical with him, meaning Wemby. Wemby's first game playing 40 minutes. Again, that's kind of my point of if you're a Wolves fan and you have hope in this team winning this series, like that's the best hope that they have is we've been here, we've done this, we understand it, we know what the adjustments are going to look like, we know that those adjustments have to be like fast. It can't be like we need 3 practices to figure out the adjustments. I do think game 2 it's on the Spurs. Like if I'm the Wolves, sure, you maybe put in a couple things to like switch to at halftime, or you put in a couple things like, hey, maybe we'll defend this a little bit differently if they figure it out. But this is completely on the Spurs now. Like the final score of a 2-point win looks a lot closer than it was. I mean, the Wolves were up 9 with 4 minutes left. Like this was a game where the Wolves just kind of figured them out and then took advantage of it and took control of it, which again was not on my bingo card for game 1. Chatty adds, I loved how they boxed Wemby in the second half and the screens. How can the Spurs counter that? That's honestly, I think that's a really good point, is like, how can the Spurs counter that? Because Randle, again, is one of the very few people on the planet that can match Wemby's like length with physicality and move Wemby out of the way enough to where like he is creating those driving lanes. I think TJ or maybe it was Ant benefited from one of those in the second half. Rudy also was really good at that, like setting the screen and then baiting, kind of, I would say not really baiting, but like freezing Wemby in that drop where it's like, okay, if I come up to help my guy on the screen, Rudy is going to be able to turn his hips, and he is a guy that can catch a pocket pass sometimes and then spread it and get guys in rotation. And if I stay and drop, I mean, Mike Conley hit a 3 over him. Bones had a 3 called back in kind of a similar situation. Like it really, again, like this Wolves team is really uniquely bothersome, I think is how I would phrase it to the Spurs. And I think if Dante were healthy, it would be even more bothersome. When Io comes back, just his rim pressure and his kind of smart passing ability, I think is going to be more kind of weird for this Spurs team to try and figure out. And again, I would just go back to what you said, pack mentality. Like it's Wemby's first game playing 40 minutes, and he's going to have to do it again in 44 hours. Like until you've had to do that. I mean, guys, whether it's on the Wolves, whether it's on other teams that have been in town that I've talked to about it, like until you've had to do that, you just don't know what it's like. It's so hard on your body that, again, what do the Spurs do? I do think they played a little bit Like defensively, I thought the Spurs were pretty good for the most part. Like they held the Wolves to 104, but like offensively, the Spurs just seemed kind of rattled. Whether it was just, hey, this team is being really physical and pushing us off of our spots, whether it was Fox just not really able to getting it going. Dylan Harper was awesome tonight. Side note, Keldon Johnson was also really good, but like their offense just didn't seem as crisp. Like the Spurs offense this season is similar to any other time in the last 25 years that the Spurs have ran an offense. It's very pass heavy. It's good shot to a great shot. Take advantage of mismatch, drive and kick. Everyone can shoot. Like they do have a really like well fine-tuned offense. It just looked like it got kind of a stick put in the spokes with the Wolves with just the physical play. And then it kind of turned into more of the like your turn, my turn type of like ISO heavy guard stuff, which maybe some of that is Castle getting 5 fouls and not being able to really play in the second half. Maybe some of that is just playoff, newness. I think if I were the Spurs and I was going to go for an adjustment, Wemby has to touch the ball on every offensive possession. Like, we can get into that a little bit more, but first I'm going to run some ads and then we'll break down kind of what I mean by like Wemby has to touch the ball way more. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read. This time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. Okay, so first to catch up on this on the chat a little bit, Steve Hartman over there saying holding Wemby to fewer points than blocks is insanity on both accounts. Yup, 100%. Abby Links, little brother vibes, kind of like it kind of is. Like it honestly kind of feels when the Wolves made the playoffs their second year and they played the Nuggets for the first time and the Nuggets knocked them out in 5. Like it kind of had at least game 1 of this had similar vibes to that, where it was just like, oh, this team just doesn't fully understand what this is going to be like yet. Pack Mentality says Io is going to be huge. Wolves are physically ready for this. Pack Mentality also says they compared us to Portland and all we need is 1 win. I didn't think it was going to be game 1 though. I thought it would be game 2 if they took it, just because like the Wolves just finished up that Nuggets series where it looks like they were just throwing haymakers in the last 3 games. So I didn't think it would be game 1, but again, that just you think of the maturity level difference from 2 years ago when the Wolves win that game 7 in Denver and then go to Dallas for game 1 and just get stomped. I mean, they win game 6 in Minneapolis, similar 3-day break, and they go to San Antonio and look just as crisp as they did in that game 6. And like, again, it's playoff reps. I hate to just kind of dumb things down to that, but like, I do think that's a big sign of it. If they were like, hey, we've won a really emotional series before and then got stomped. Let's not do that again. And credit to them. They didn't do that tonight. Back to kind of like what the Spurs can do in this series, though. Like, I felt this way the last the two times this year the Spurs played the Wolves as well. Like, he is such a mismatch on offense, whether it's just his handling ability, whether it's his 3-point shooting, which didn't really show up tonight, and he is kind of a streaky 3-point shooter, or just like his ability to like attack the rim, and he's 37 feet tall. Like, it just kind of amazed me the 2 games earlier this season and in this one that he doesn't touch the ball on every possession. Like, even if it's just a dribble handoff, even if it's just dumping it to him in the post and then him kicking it back out, like, he is such a threat when he has the ball, and it kind of makes the entire, like, at least when the Wolves have been playing them, it makes them kind of freak out a little bit. Like, you can tell when he's starting to drive, like, guys are sticking their hands in that driving lane, sagging off of their guys on the perimeter a little bit. And I guess I just don't watch enough Spurs or know enough about the team to know if that's just young team doesn't understand getting the ball to their superstar, or if it's, Wemby is a really selfless player and wants other guys to shine, or if it's, Wemby is a post player and guards bring the ball up, and sometimes guards can get tunnel vision and not look for the big guy every possession. But like, that would be my adjustment, is just, hey, Wemby, dial it back 10% on defense. We're probably going to be fine. Instead of getting 35 blocks in the first 2 games of this series, maybe you get 25 blocks, and like, let's get you in everything on offense, because he is such a mismatch. I mean, even with like Rudy on him, like, Rudy just looks small, and like, yes, Julius and Rudy were able to like push him off his spots quite a bit today, but also they just don't really go to him a lot, which is, again, just, I wish I knew more about the team to know why they do that. I hope as the series progresses, like, I can get a better feel for them as well and maybe have those answers. But like, that would be my adjustment, is just, hey, we got to go through Wemby. Like, I know we have, speaking as the Spurs, like, I know we have the 3-headed kind of guard rotation with Fox, Castle, and Harper. Hey, Keldon Johnson's, 6th man of the year. Harrison Barnes is really neat. Luke Cornett's fun. But Wemby is everything, which, again, we'll see if that's the way they go with it. I think if they choose to continue to kind of do the guard heavy thing, that's going to be kind of playing into the Wolves' hands, especially once they get Io back and they have another like capable on ball kind of attack defender. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what their adjustment is, because I don't think it's, and I don't think there's just an obvious one. Like, they didn't foul a ton. They were pretty disciplined on like, I really don't think their defense was the issue tonight. And on offense, it's like, they got open shots. Like, Wemby missed quite a few. Other guys missed pretty open shots as well. It just looked like they were bothered by the physicality. And once they got a couple punches landed on them, that they just never were able to kind of like recalibrate and get those shots to start falling, which, again, I'll just point back to, that was a massive problem the Wolves had in that first Nugget series and in that Memphis series 4.5 years ago now. Was like, Wolves would get out to a lead, and then as soon as they got punched in the mouth a couple times, they wouldn't really know how to respond. So I do think it is kind of a sign of a younger team that's still figuring it out. But I now it's just on San Antonio. Like, can they game plan something so that they're a little more effective earlier on? Is it going to be trying to play through Wemby more? Like, going to be interesting. The last thing I want to just touch on before we got out of here was just Ant. I've been doing a lot of Link stuff the last 3 days because they've had their media day. So I haven't been posting and chiming in as much on Ant, just because like, it is ludicrous that he is playing basketball right now. What I had kind of heard through grapevines was that his injury was kind of similar to Jaden's injury that sidelined him 6 games at the end of the season, like a similar bone bruise in the knee type of thing. and Ant gets back in 9 days and misses 2 games is just insane. It's literal insanity that's how fast he was able to recover from this. And the other side of that is just he looked fine. Like he looked like a guy that isn't as conditioned. Like you could tell he was huffing and puffing a couple times when he was coming out of the game. But like the cuts he was making on his ankle, there was like back-to-back plays against Keldon Johnson in the fourth quarter where he just cooked him, like doing his kind of snatchback dribbles, his crossovers, like the stop and go burst, like everything looked like it was there. And then again, watching the game, it looked like the only thing that really kind of affected him was like one landing or something like that, where he might have reached down at his knee, but also he might have just been like itching his thigh, which is the level of scrutiny that we are at now with Anthony Edwards injuries. Is if he itches the wrong part of his leg, we all notice it. But he was awesome. Like I also thought it was really kind of nice that you can, like, this game, he wasn't demanding the ball as much in the first half, which kind of allowed Jaden to get some of those like easy Jaden buckets, allowed Mike to get a couple open spots, and just like having him out there as like, yeah, I'm pretty good to go, but I'm also maybe one of the best decoys in basketball because he is an amazing spot up shooter. He's an incredible off the bounce shooter. Um, again, far exceeded my expectations that he was going to far exceeded my expectations that he was going to be able to come in here and just look like Ant, which I would assume game 2, if he's still good to go, we're probably looking closer to like that 30-minute range. And then maybe by the time they return home for game 3 and 4, he's already back to no minutes restriction. But I just had to touch on that too, because it is just ludicrous that he comes back from an injury like that and is just good. We'll see how he goes the rest of the series, but I would argue even this was the healthiest he's looked all playoffs. When that's crazy. Steve mentions when Ant hit the first deep fadeaway, knew it was on. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like that is like a hard shot on your knees if they hurt. Really good. Farah, I didn't notice he had a brace on. He does wear those like weird heating brace thingies or ice heating compression brace things on the sideline. But I didn't notice anything other than his normal, just, you know, kind of like elasticy knee guard pad. It's not a knee pad, needs knee sleeve. I could have missed it though. I'm sure he had like at least rock tape or something on underneath that, but yeah, again, just wild. Chatty adds that he was slacking a little on defense. Yeah, that's just Ants. It's one of those things where I don't know if the national, like you hear Jamal Crawford talk about it on the broadcast today, that Ant is like an underrated defender. And it's like, he's an underrated defender when he's like really locked in and wants to prove a point. When it's just a normal Ant game, like it's still kind of frustrating at times, but he was okay. Like he looked okay tonight. Farah mentions that his left knee looked bigger than his right. They might have hit like a extra knee brace or something underneath the compression. I just didn't notice anything on the outside, like those big kind of like contraption braces. That's trying to think of like a good example of who wore those, but like the ones that are like metal and on the outside that people usually wear when they have like a blown knee. But again, he could have been having a ton of tape underneath it. He could have had a brace underneath it. That's one of those things that like I, even like me being able to go in the locker room and stuff, will probably never find out, because like those are things that teams are pretty secretive about, especially when it's, regarding a guy like Ant. But yeah, credit to Ant. Again, I was just so impressed just by how he was able to move. Like, I did not expect that at all in this game back. I thought it was going to be pretty similar to like game 3, game 4 Ant, where he was grabbing at his leg and looked pretty sore and just didn't have that same burst. And when he did get in that gear with the burst, it just didn't look the same, which again, he hits that fadeaway kind of sideline fadeaway, and then he hits a 3, and in the fourth quarter he's cooking Keldon Johnson, and it's like, oh, okay, so he's just fine. Somehow he is healed from something that even generously people were saying he was going to be out for at least 2 weeks. Just 9 days, he's fine, I guess. Ren says Spurs plus refs versus Timberwolves plus injured Ant. Somehow ESPN had Spurs winning in 5. Yeah. Again, I think this team, is it realistic to say like the Wolves are going to overcome the Spurs and like close this thing out in 6? Like, honestly, I think I would still take this, the Spurs just having so much more talent, the question marks about Ant and Io. But at the same time, it's like this Wolves team has just shown that they are a gritty team that can win in these rock fights. And if their defense is going to ascend to, the 2024 Wolves defense, where they are just able to hold anyone under 100, it's really hard not to see them winning this series and going on to Oklahoma City. I think we need to see a couple more games. Like, let's see game 2 and game 3 and see how the Spurs respond, because this just seemed like a game where the Spurs were almost kind of like surprised and taken off guard, if that makes sense. Steve, I'm going to close with your question here as we're around in that 40-minute mark. What do you think the Wolves can do with Gobert offensively? Wemby didn't have to work hard when Rudy was on. Obviously, Nas Julius lineup made the Spurs struggle. 2 things. Like, one, when Wemby is out there, it is going to be really hard to make Rudy effective in anything other than the screens. Like, I do think Rudy still provides a really solid service in, like, hey, De'Aaron Fox, you're going to get just like separated from your body when you get screened by Rudy, and whoever you're guarding is now going to have 2 feet of space. And if Wemby is going to play in a drop system like they were playing today, it's going to open up those threes. And the reality is Rudy just does that better than Julius and Nas. It's a weird thing to say, like, hey, like, we need Rudy out there just to set picks and be good on defense, but like, it really is an asset for this team, especially when you have guys like TJ, Ant, and Io when he comes back that are so good at like planting that foot like a running back and just like attacking that screen almost like it's like an inside offensive lineman and just like weaseling into the paint. And Rudy's just really good at getting that separation. When Wemby's out there though, like, I think we saw enough today that like Rudy is not going to be able to get kind of those dunker spot, like pocket passes where he can just go up and dunk them or do his weird little Rudy touch layup floater thing. Like, Wemby is just too big, too skilled to kind of fall for that like Jokic did. Now, that being said, kind of to your point, Steve, Nas and Julius were really good, especially when they had Jaden out there with them and they had like that threesome that could kind of rotate and just pass Wemby off whenever he would cut across them. Like, I think that's probably the move in this series is like, start with Rudy, give him the first 6 minutes, see how it goes each night, and then almost like do the opposite of what they did in Denver, where it's you start the first 6 minutes with Rudy, and then if Wemby is going to sit 15 minutes, Rudy is playing every minute that Wemby isn't on the floor, and you're just attacking Luke Cornett. You're trying to get offensive rebounds. You're trying to get that screen separation, and you're letting Rudy do maybe a little bit more offensively when Wemby isn't in there. I think the other thing that Rudy is just really good at is drawing fouls. Again, Wemby didn't really fall for any of the Rudy weird stuff tonight, but that's another area where it's, again, first 6 minutes of the game, just try and get it to Rudy a couple times and see if he can get a cheap one on Wemby, see if he can get in a position where he's getting a rebound and able to go right back up and get a foul called on somebody else. Like, I think the Rudy offense is just going to be really hard this series, though. I would also say, like, the Rudy defense, I don't think is as important in this series, because Wemby, if he's trying to be careful how I say it, because I don't want to say like Wemby isn't the talent that Jokic is. Like, obviously Wemby is not a 3-time MVP, but like Wemby isn't like the heliocentric player that Jokic is either, where you just need somebody to guard him every second of the game. I think Wemby, especially how the Spurs used him tonight, like, you can kind of get away with some stuff with him because guys aren't always looking for him every possession, which allows you to put a Naz Reid out there who sometimes makes some pretty big mistakes on defense. Julius was awesome tonight. Like, I think he proved he can play quite a bit. I think the other thing I would just say is, like, Rudy at this point in his career, like, wants a championship. I guarantee you, after the performance he just had against Jokic, I don't think he cares if he plays 25 minutes a night this series, because, like, what will people remember this? If the Wolves were to go and win a ring this year, like, they are going to remember Rudy stopping Jokic in the first round. They're going to remember them beating the Spurs and OKC and then whoever in the finals, since my pick Boston got knocked out. Like, I think Rudy has proven himself more than enough. And I think if this is just a series where he's not quite the same impactful player, that he's still going to be locked in for whenever OKC happens. Ren, I'll give you the last question. Did the Wolves med staff have some type of ancient Asian recovery ointment, or is Ant just superhuman? I think he's just superhuman. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what you can do to recover a bone bruise faster than a bone bruise is going to recover. And for most people, that's like a month-long injury. But for Ant, it was 9 days, which, after the season is usually when this stuff kind of comes out, when, Chris Finch after the season will talk about it, or Ant after the season we'll talk about it, and we'll probably find out that it was either much more severe or that they figured out, this is what works for him. But yeah, as it stands right now, I'm just in shock. Like, he looked so good for a dude that has 2 bum knees. I am going to call the pod here, though. So if you did join into this late, want to listen to the whole thing, it's not 2:30 in the morning. It's only midnight. So if you did want to listen to this tonight, it does get posted up on YouTube and X as soon as I end the stream. It will be over on Spotify, Apple, audio books, all the weird podcasting places tomorrow morning at 7. And I am going to have a bonus episode coming out tomorrow morning. The CEO of Noah Basketball is kind enough to do a podcast with me. We're not going to do it as a live stream, but we will do it as a podcast, just to talk about, like, for people who have seen my videos online, the scoreboard that I've posted up before with, like, K-Mac shooting 5,000 3-pointers and perfect shots. And it has the diagrams of, like, what arc and everything and microchipped balls and all of that nonsense. He's going to come in, just kind of talk about, like, what that actually is and, like, how it helps athletes. So I think people will enjoy it. It's going to be probably a more nerdy podcast. But again, I've had a couple people ask, like, what the heck is that? And why do they get such fancy technology? So figured, what the heck, we'll make it happen. Again, appreciate all you guys for being in here. I will be back after game 2. We're going to have kind of a zone coverage reunion. Tom and Jonah Maves are both going to be joining me. So look forward to that. There'll be a bonus pod coming out tomorrow afternoon in your feeds as well. And I appreciate everyone for swinging by.